I'm Sarah Mitchell, and I work as a customer service manager at Pacific Electronics in Riverside, California. What happened to me in October 2022 still makes me check my rearview mirror obsessively. I thought I was being paranoid until I realized just how calculated this woman's behavior really was. It started on a Tuesday morning when I was getting coffee at the Starbucks on Magnolia Drive before work. I was standing in line, checking emails on my phone, when someone tapped my shoulder. "Sarah? Oh my God, is that really you?" I turned around to see a woman about my age with shoulder-length brown hair and an enormous smile. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" I asked politely. Her face fell slightly. "It's me, Jessica." "Your sister?" My blood went cold. I don't have a sister named Jessica. I don't have a sister at all. I'm an only child, and my parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. "I think you have me confused with someone else," I said carefully. She laughed nervously. No, it's definitely you. You got that little scar on your chin from when you fell off your bike when we were kids. Remember? Mom was so worried she drove us to the ER in her blue Honda Civic. The detail about the scar made my skin crawl. Yes, I had a small scar on my chin from a childhood bike accident, but my mother never owned a blue Honda Civic. She drove a white Toyota Camry her entire life. "I really think you're mistaken," I said, stepping back. "Oh." She looked genuinely confused. "Well, maybe we just haven't seen each other in so long. I know it's been like 10 years since the family reunion. You probably just don't remember me clearly." She was so convincing that for a moment, I actually questioned myself. Could I have a half-sister I'd forgotten about? Some distant relative? But no, I would remember having a sister. "I'm sorry, but I really don't know you," I said firmly and grabbed my coffee when they called my name. As I walked to my car, I could feel her watching me. When I glanced back, she was standing outside the coffee shop, staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. The next day, she was there again. Same Starbucks, same time. This time she approached me more cautiously. "Sarah, I know yesterday was awkward, but I've been thinking about it all night. Maybe you're just blocking out some childhood memories? Sometimes trauma can do that." "What trauma?" I asked. "From when Dad left. You were only 12, and you took it so hard. Mom said you used to pretend you didn't have any family at all." That's when I realized she knew things about me that she shouldn't. My father did leave when I was 12, but I'd never told anyone the details about how I dealt with it. How could a stranger know that? "How do you know about my father?" I demanded. She looked hurt. "Because I lived through it too, Sarah. We both did. Look, I know this is overwhelming, but I've been searching for you for years. After Mom died, I thought I'd never find you again. My mother had died, but not recently. She died 3 years ago along with my father in that car accident. This woman was either delusional or lying, and either option terrified me. I left without another word, but I started paying more attention to my surroundings. Over the next week, I saw her everywhere. At the grocery store on Pine Avenue, browsing the cereal aisle when I was picking up milk. At the gas station on Commerce Boulevard, pumping gas 2 cars down from mine. Outside my apartment building on Riverside Drive, sitting in a silver Nissan Altima with Nevada plates. She never approached me again after that second coffee shop encounter, but she was always there, always watching. And somehow, she always seemed to know exactly where I'd be. The breaking point came the following Friday. I was working late at the office, finishing quarterly reports, when our security guard, Marcus Henderson, came to my cubicle around 9 p.m. "Ms. Mitchell? There's a woman at the front desk asking for you. Says she's your sister." My stomach dropped. "What does she look like?" "Brown hair, about 30, really insistent that she needs to see you. Says it's a family emergency." I knew it was her. "Marcus, I don't have a sister. Please don't let her in the building." His expression shifted from confusion to concern. "You want me to call the police?" "Not yet. Just tell her I'm not here and ask her to leave." Marcus nodded and left. 20 minutes later, he returned looking troubled. She wouldn't leave. Kept saying she knew you were here because your Honda Accord was in the parking lot. Thing is, Ms. Mitchell, how did she know what car you drive? And she described it perfectly, right down to the small dent in the rear bumper. That's when real fear set in. She'd been watching me closely enough to memorize my car details. This wasn't some case of mistaken identity. This was deliberate stalking. Did she finally leave? I asked. Eventually. But she said to tell you that she'd wait for you at home. Said you'd understand? I called the police from my office. Officer Davidson from the Riverside Police Department took my statement and explained that without direct threats or attempts to enter my home, there wasn't much they could do. But he advised me to document everything and file for a restraining order if the behavior continued. I stayed at the office until almost midnight, hoping she'd give up and leave. When I finally drove home, I took a circuitous route through unfamiliar neighborhoods, checking constantly for that silver Altima. My apartment complex was quiet when I arrived. I parked in my usual spot and hurried toward the entrance, keys ready. That's when I saw her. She was sitting on the bench near the mailboxes, like she belonged there. Like she lived there. "Hi, Sarah," she said calmly. "I was worried when you didn't come home at your usual time. How long have you been watching me?" I asked, keeping my distance. "I'm not watching you. I'm just trying to reconnect with my sister. Is that so wrong? I'm calling the police." She stood up slowly. "They can't help you, Sarah. Family matters stay in the family." As I pulled out my phone, she continued talking, and what she said next made my blood freeze. "I know about the journal you keep hidden behind your dresser. The one where you wrote about feeling guilty after Mom and Dad's accident. I know about the panic attacks you have on Thursday nights. That's when it happened, wasn't it? Thursday night at 11:47 p.m. on Highway 99. I know about the sleeping pills Dr. Rodriguez prescribed that you're afraid to take because you don't want to have the nightmares again." She knew details about my private medical information, my therapy sessions, my personal habits. Information that wasn't public record, that I'd never shared with anyone except my therapist. "How do you know those things?" I whispered. She smiled, and it was the most chilling expression I'd ever seen. "Because sisters know everything about each other, Sarah. Even when one sister tries to pretend the other doesn't exist." I started to dial 911, but she stepped closer. "I know you called them from your office earlier. Officer Chin was very polite when he told me there was nothing they could do. Nice man. Did you know his daughter goes to Roosevelt Elementary? Same school where our cousin Emma's kids go." The implication was clear. She knew where I worked, where I lived, and now she was mentioning a police officer's child and claiming connections to other family members I didn't have. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I want what we should have had all along. I want my sister back. I want us to be a family again. We were never family. I don't know who you are." Her expression shifted to something darker. "Maybe you need more time to remember. Maybe once you see how much I know about you, how much I care about you, you'll stop fighting this." She walked away casually, like we just had a normal conversation. As she reached the silver Altima, she called back. "Sweet dreams, Sarah. I'll see you tomorrow." I ran to my apartment and triple-locked the door. Then I called my therapist's emergency line and told Dr. Martinez everything. She confirmed what I'd feared. Someone had been calling her office claiming to be my sister, asking for information about my treatment. The office had refused to give any details, but the caller had demonstrated knowledge about my case that shouldn't have been available to anyone. "Dr. Martinez," I said, "I think someone's been following me for weeks, maybe months. They know things about my private life that I've only discussed in therapy. Sarah, this is extremely concerning. You need to contact the police again and specifically request Detective Amanda Foster. She specializes in stalking cases. I'll provide a statement about the unauthorized contact attempts." I spent that night awake, checking the locks and peering through the blinds. Every shadow looked like her. Every sound could be her trying to get in. The next morning, I met with Detective Foster at the Riverside Police Department. She listened carefully as I explained everything, including the therapy information breach. Ms. Mitchell, what you're describing sounds like organized stalking with potential identity theft elements. This person has been gathering extensive personal information about you through various sources. The fact that she's creating a false family connection suggests this might be part of a larger scheme. What kind of scheme? Financial fraud, inheritance scams, insurance fraud. There are several possibilities. People who pose as long-lost relatives often have access to public records, social media, and sometimes they pay for private information. The therapy office contact suggests she's gone beyond normal research methods. Detective Foster pulled up database records and made several phone calls while I waited. After an hour, she returned with troubling news. Sarah, I've been checking missing persons reports and found something interesting. There was a Jessica Mitchell reported missing from Las Vegas 6 months ago. She matches the description of your stalker. My heart sank. You think she stole someone's identity? It's possible. The missing woman's family lost contact with her after she started showing signs of mental illness and paranoid delusions about family members who had abandoned her. According to the report, she became convinced that various strangers were actually her relatives who were pretending not to know her. So she's mentally ill? That appears likely, but it doesn't make her less dangerous. In fact, it might make her more unpredictable. We're going to issue a bolo. Be on the lookout for both her and the vehicle. I'm also fast-tracking your restraining order request. That afternoon, I got a call at work that made everything worse. Ms. Mitchell? This is Jennifer Torres from Riverside General Hospital. Your sister Jessica was brought in this morning after a car accident. She's been asking for you. I don't have a sister named Jessica, I said immediately. There was confusion in her voice. I'm sorry, but she has you listed as her emergency contact. She has identification showing she's Jessica Mitchell, and she claims you're her next of kin. Please listen carefully, I said. I'm currently being stalked by someone using that name. Do not give her any information about me, and do not allow her to use me as her emergency contact. Contact Detective Amanda Foster at Riverside PD immediately. Oh my God, the nurse said. She seemed so genuinely concerned about you. She kept saying she just wanted to make sure you knew she was okay. Even from a hospital bed, she was still trying to manipulate the situation to maintain contact with me. Detective Foster called me an hour later. Sarah, we've got her. The woman claiming to be Jessica Mitchell was indeed the missing person from Las Vegas. Her real name is Crystal Morrison, and she has a history of delusional disorders and obsessive behavior towards strangers she decides are family members. Is it over? For now. She's being held for psychiatric evaluation and will be transferred back to Nevada to face charges there. But Sarah, I need you to understand, people with her condition sometimes become fixated on specific individuals for years. You should consider changing some of your routines and maybe even moving if possible. The restraining order was approved, but Detective Foster's warning stuck with me. Crystal Morrison had spent months learning intimate details about my life. She knew my schedule, my car, my workplace, my medical history, and probably things I hadn't even discovered yet. 3 weeks later, I moved to Portland, Oregon, and changed jobs. I never found out exactly how she'd gathered so much personal information about me, but I learned to be much more careful about my digital footprint and personal security. But here's what really bothers me about the whole experience. Crystal Morrison knew details about my life that seemed impossible for a stranger to discover. She knew about private conversations with my therapist, knew about my parents' accident details that weren't in any public records, and somehow knew my exact daily routine down to which coffee shop I visited and what time. The police investigation revealed she'd been following me for at least 4 months before she first approached me. 4 months of watching, learning, and gathering information about someone she decided was her sister. I still wonder how someone can become so convinced of a false reality that they'll dedicate months of their life to pursuing it. And I wonder how many other Crystal Morrisons are out there, watching strangers and building elaborate fantasies about relationships that never existed. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you a little too closely? Have you ever had a stranger approach you claiming to know you in ways that didn't make sense? The line between coincidence and deliberate stalking can be thinner than you think, and sometimes the people who seem most convincing are the ones you should trust the least. I'm Detective Marcus Rodriguez with the Bakersfield Police Department, and I've been in law enforcement for 12 years. What I discovered about my own family in November 2023 changed everything I thought I knew about truth, lies, and the people closest to us. It started when I was investigating a routine missing persons case. 28-year-old Amanda Chin had disappeared from her apartment on Stockdale Highway 3 days earlier. Her roommate found her bedroom cleaned out, clothes gone, personal items missing, but no note or explanation. I was reviewing Amanda's background when something in her file caught my attention. Under emergency contacts, she'd listed Maria Rodriguez as her aunt, with an address on Panorama Drive here in Bakersfield. My mother's name is Maria Rodriguez. Same address. I stared at the file for 10 minutes, thinking it had to be coincidence. Rodriguez is a common name, and there could be multiple Maria Rodriguezes in the city. But when I called the number listed, my mother answered. "Mom, this is Marcus. Do you know an Amanda Chin?" There was a long pause. Too long. "Why are you asking me, Joe? She's listed you as her emergency contact in a missing persons case I'm working. She called you her aunt." Another pause. I think there might be some confusion. But her voice had that tone, the same one she used when I was 8, and asked why I didn't have any brothers or sisters like my friends did. The tone that meant she was hiding something. "Mom, I need you to be straight with me. This is official police business. Do you know Amanda Chin or not? Can we talk about this at home? After your shift?" That evening, I drove to my parents' house on Panorama Drive in my unmarked 2020 Chevrolet Impala. My father, Roberto, was watching television in the living room when I arrived. My mother was in the kitchen, avoiding eye contact. "We need to talk about Amanda Chin," I said, sitting at the kitchen table where we'd had so many family conversations over the years. My mother sat down across from me, wringing her hands. "Marcus, there are things about our family that we never told you." "What kind of things?" My father joined us, turning off the TV. They exchanged a look that told me this conversation had been inevitable for years. "When you were 3 years old," my mother began, "we had another child. A daughter. Elena." The words hit me like a physical blow. "I have a sister?" "You had a sister," my father corrected quietly. "We gave her up for adoption when she was 2 months old." "Why?" The question came out harsher than I intended, but I was reeling. "We were so young, Marcus. Your father was working construction, I was cleaning houses, and we were barely making rent on that tiny apartment on California Avenue. When I got pregnant again so soon after you, we panicked. So you gave away my sister and never told me?" "We thought it was for the best," my father said. "The adoption was supposed to be closed, no contact, no information exchanged. We were told Elena would have a better life with a family that could provide for her." I pulled out Amanda Chen's file photo and showed it to them. "Is this her?" My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Dios mío. Yes. That's Elena. Her name is Amanda Chen now," I said, struggling to keep my voice professional. "And she's missing." My father leaned forward. "Missing? What happened?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out. But first, I need to understand how she found you. Closed adoptions don't just magically open." My mother looked ashamed. "She contacted us about 6 months ago. Said she'd hired a private investigator to find her birth family. She knew our names, knew about you, knew everything. And you didn't think to tell me that I had a sister living 20 minutes away?" "We wanted to," my mother insisted. "But Amanda, she asked us not to. She said she needed time to decide if she wanted to meet you. She was afraid you might reject her. So instead, you met with her behind my back?" "Just a few times," my father said. Coffee shops, restaurants. She wanted to know about her birth family, about you. She seemed like such a sweet girl, Marcus. So smart and kind. I felt betrayed on multiple levels. Not only had my parents hidden the existence of my sister for 31 years, but they'd been secretly meeting with her while I remained oblivious. Tell me everything about these meetings, I said, switching into detective mode. When, where, what you talked about. Over the next hour, they described 6 meetings with Amanda over 5 months. Always in public places: Denny's on Ming Avenue, Starbucks on Rosedale Highway, the Barnes & Noble on Stockdale. She'd asked about family medical history, about my career in law enforcement, about our childhood home. She was particularly interested in you, my mother said. Asked so many questions about what kind of person you were, whether you were married, where you lived. She seemed proud that her brother was a police officer. Did she ever seem scared or mention anyone threatening her? My parents exchanged glances. Actually, my father said slowly, at our last meeting 2 weeks ago, she seemed nervous. Kept looking around the restaurant, checking her phone. She said she might have to disappear for a while. Disappear? Those were her exact words. She said there were people from her past who couldn't find her anymore. She changed her name legally from Elena Rodriguez to Amanda Chin when she turned 18. Why would she change her name? She said her adoptive family had problems. Didn't go into details, but she implied there was abuse involved. The name change was her way of starting over. This opened up new possibilities in the investigation. If Amanda had been hiding from someone, her disappearance might not be voluntary. I spent the next 2 days diving deeper into Amanda Chen's background. What I found disturbed me on both personal and professional levels. The Chin family who adopted her had no record of abuse reports, but they died in a house fire when Amanda was 16. After that, she'd bounced between foster homes until aging out of the system at 18. But here's what really caught my attention. Amanda had been married. Briefly, when she was 24, to a man named Daniel Morrison in Las Vegas. The marriage lasted 8 months before she filed for divorce citing domestic violence. Daniel Morrison had a record: assault, stalking, violation of restraining orders. And according to Las Vegas Metro Police, he'd been actively searching for Amanda since their divorce, despite multiple restraining orders. I called Detective Lisa Park with Vegas Metro. Detective Park, I'm working a missing persons case involving Amanda Chin, formerly Amanda Morrison. I understand you've had contact with her ex-husband. Oh, that piece of work, Detective Park said. Daniel Morrison's been a problem for years. Obsessed with finding Amanda after she left him. He's violated 3 restraining orders and done 2 short jail stints for harassment. Is he currently in Nevada? Last I heard. But Marcus, you should know Morrison's been making inquiries about Amanda's family in California. He somehow found out she'd located her birth parents. He's been asking questions about a brother who's a cop in Bakersfield. My blood went cold. He knows about me? Seems like it. Amanda was smart to change her name and move, but this guy's persistent. We've been building a stalking case against him, but he's careful about staying just within legal boundaries. That evening, I called my parents and told them to stay alert. If Daniel Morrison was looking for Amanda and knew about our family connection, they could be in danger too. Mom, I need you to tell me everything Amanda said about feeling threatened. Every detail. She said she thought someone had been following her. A white Ford F-150 with Nevada plates that she'd seen parked near her apartment building multiple times. She was scared enough that she'd started parking in different locations and taking different routes to work. Why didn't she come to the police? She said she tried that before with her ex-husband. Said the police couldn't do anything until he actually hurt her, and she wasn't willing to wait for that to happen. The next morning, I found Amanda's car. It was parked behind a closed gas station on Panama Lane, keys still in the ignition. Her purse was on the passenger seat with cash and credit cards untouched, but her phone was missing. Security footage from a nearby business showed Amanda parking there at 11:30 p.m. 3 nights ago. 40 minutes later, A white Ford F-150 pulled up next to her car. The footage was too grainy to see faces clearly, but it showed Amanda getting into the truck voluntarily. I immediately issued a bolo for Daniel Morrison and contacted Nevada authorities. But I had a sinking feeling we were already too late. That afternoon, we found Amanda. She was alive, but barely. Patrol officers located her in an abandoned warehouse on Industrial Road, dehydrated and traumatized but breathing. Daniel Morrison was arrested trying to flee in his white 2018 Ford F-150. At the hospital, Amanda was finally able to talk. "He'd been watching me for weeks," she said weakly. "Figured out I'd found my birth family. Said if I was going to have a family reunion, he deserved to be part of it." "Amanda," I said gently. "I'm Marcus. Your brother." She looked at me with eyes exactly like my mother's and started crying. "I'm sorry I didn't contact you directly. I was scared you wouldn't want a sister with so much baggage." "Are you kidding? I've been an only child for 31 years. Finding out I have a sister is the best thing that's happened to me." Daniel Morrison was charged with kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and violation of restraining order. During questioning, he revealed he'd been tracking Amanda for over a year, hiring private investigators and monitoring her social media accounts. He'd discovered her adoption search and followed the trail to our parents. His plan was to use Amanda's newfound family connection to force her back into a relationship with him. "He told me he was going to introduce himself to you as my boyfriend," Amanda said later. "Said he'd convince the family that we were getting back together, make it look like I'd come with him willingly." The case officially closed when Morrison pled guilty and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. But for me and my family, it was just the beginning. Amanda and I spent months getting to know each other. She moved to a new apartment on Gosford Road, started therapy to deal with the trauma, and slowly began building relationships with our parents. It wasn't easy. 30 years of separation doesn't disappear overnight. But gradually, we developed the sibling bond that should have existed all along. "Do you ever wonder what our lives would have been like if they'd kept me?" Amanda asked one evening as we had dinner at her apartment. "Every day," I admitted. "But I also think about how different you'd be if you hadn't survived what you went through. Your strength, your independence, maybe that came from having to fight for yourself. Maybe. But I think I would have liked having a big brother to protect me. You've got one now." The hardest part was forgiving our parents. They'd made their decision based on fear and financial desperation, but the secrecy had nearly cost Amanda her life. If Morrison had succeeded in his plan, my sister might have disappeared forever, and I never would have known she existed. "We thought we were protecting everyone," my mother said during one of our family therapy sessions. "But our secrets almost destroyed the family we were trying to save." Amanda's case taught me something important about family secrets. People hide things for what seem like good reasons: shame, fear, protection. But secrets have a way of creating more problems than they solve. The connection between my missing persons case and my own family was extraordinary, but it made me realize how many families have hidden stories that could surface unexpectedly. Have you ever discovered something shocking about your family history? Do you think parents are justified in keeping certain secrets from their children, even if it's meant to protect them? Sometimes the people closest to us are hiding truths that could change everything we think we know about our lives. I'm Jennifer Walsh, a social worker with the Oregon Department of Human Services in Portland. What happened to my family in December 2023 showed me that some wounds from childhood never heal, they just get sharper with time. My parents, Robert and Linda Walsh, moved our family from Phoenix to Portland when I was 15. They always said it was for my father's job transfer with Mountain View Construction, but I discovered the real reason 20 years later. The call came on a Thursday morning while I was reviewing case files at my office on Northeast Sandy Boulevard. Detective Kevin Brooks from Phoenix PD was on the line. "Ms. Walsh, we have a situation involving your family. Are your parents, Robert and Linda Walsh, currently residing on Cedar Creek Drive in Portland?" "Yes, that's them." "What's wrong?" "We've issued an arrest warrant for someone claiming to be your sister. She's been making threats against your family and has a history of violent behavior. Her name is Rebecca Walsh. I felt confused. Detective, I think there's been a mistake. I don't have a sister named Rebecca. According to our records, Rebecca Walsh was placed in foster care in Phoenix in 1987. She claims the Walsh family abandoned her at St. Catherine's Children's Home when she was 8 years old. The year 1987. That's when we moved to Portland. Suddenly, fragments of childhood memories started surfacing, whispered conversations between my parents. A little girl who sometimes stayed at our house. The way my mother would cry after certain phone calls. Detective Brooks, can you tell me more about these threats? Rebecca Walsh has spent the last 15 years trying to locate your family. She was arrested yesterday for breaking into your old house on Cactus Road in Phoenix. The current owners found her in what used to be your parents' bedroom, going through items the previous owners left behind. What kind of threats has she made? She told arresting officers that the Walsh family owed her a childhood and she was going to collect. She had newspaper clippings about your father's construction business, printouts of your parents' current address, and photos of your work building here in Portland. My hands started shaking. Photos of where I work. Ms. Walsh, Rebecca has been planning this for months. We found detailed surveillance notes about your family's routines, your parents' grocery shopping schedule, your commute to work. She knows where you live, where you work, and when you're most vulnerable. That evening, I drove to my parents' house in my 2019 Toyota Highlander, my mind racing with questions. When I arrived, both my parents were sitting at the kitchen table looking like they'd aged 10 years in one day. You talked to the Phoenix police, my father said. It wasn't a question. Who is Rebecca Walsh? I demanded. My mother started crying immediately. She was your sister, Jenny. Your little sister. Was my sister? What does that mean? My father rubbed his temples. We fostered Rebecca when you were 14. She'd been bouncing between homes since she was 5, and we thought we could help her. Why don't I remember her clearly? Because it only lasted 8 months, my mother said through tears. Rebecca had severe behavioral problems. She would hurt animals, steal from neighbors, and she tried to hurt you several times. I had vague memories of a smaller girl in our house, but I'd always assumed she was a cousin or family friend visiting. She tried to hurt me how? She put thumbtacks in your shoes. Put cleaning chemicals in your shampoo bottle. One night, we found her standing over your bed with a kitchen knife, just watching you sleep. The memories came flooding back, then waking up with cuts on my feet, my hair falling out in clumps, the feeling that someone was always watching me. The final incident happened in March 1987. My father continued. Rebecca pushed you down the stairs at school. You broke your wrist and had a concussion. That's when we realized we couldn't handle her anymore. So you just gave her back? We tried to get her into a specialized program, but she was too violent for most placements. St. Catherine's was the only place that would take her on short notice. And then we moved? My mother nodded miserably. Your father's company did offer him a transfer, but we took it primarily to get away from the situation. We were afraid Rebecca would find a way to contact us or convince social services to place her with us again. So you abandoned an 8-year-old girl and never looked back? She wasn't just any 8-year-old. My father said sharply. Rebecca had been diagnosed with conduct disorder and showed signs of antisocial personality traits. The psychologist told us she was potentially dangerous and that keeping her in our home put you at risk. That night, I called Detective Brooks back. I need to know everything about Rebecca's criminal history. It's extensive. Multiple arrests for assault, burglary, and stalking. She spent 3 years in prison for attacking a former foster family in 2015. Beat her foster mother with a baseball bat because the woman replaced her with younger children. Is she still in custody? She made bail yesterday. Ms. Walsh, I have to ask, are you planning to visit your parents soon? I'm at their house now. Then you need to know that Rebecca was released with an ankle monitor, but she cut it off 6 hours ago. We've issued a bolo, but she's probably already left Arizona. I spent that night at my parents' house, and we called Portland police to explain the situation. Officer Patricia Santos came to take our statement and recommended we stay somewhere else until Rebecca was apprehended. Has your family received any direct contact from this woman? Officer Santos asked. Not that we know of, my father said. But the next morning, we discovered we were wrong. My mother found a letter that had been slipped under their front door sometime during the night. The handwriting was childish, like an 8-year-old had written it. Dear Mommy and Daddy Walsh, I've been waiting so long to come home. I know you didn't mean to leave me at that scary place. I forgive you. I just want us to be a family again. I've learned so much about being a good sister. I can't wait to show Jenny how much I've missed her. Love, Rebecca. P.S. I still remember which bedroom was mine. She was here. My mother whispered. She was at our house. Officer Santos returned with the crime scene team. They found footprints in the flower bed beneath what used to be my childhood bedroom window and evidence that someone had tried to jimmy the lock on the back door. We're moving you to a safe location, Officer Santos said. And I'm posting a patrol car here in case she returns. My parents packed quickly while I called my supervisor to request emergency leave. As we loaded their car, my mother grabbed a photo album from the mantel. I kept these, she said quietly, showing me pictures I'd never seen before. I couldn't throw them away, even after everything that happened. The photos showed Rebecca and me together playing in the backyard, eating dinner at the kitchen table, sitting together on the couch watching TV. In every picture, Rebecca was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite identify. Not love, exactly. Something more possessive. Look at this one, my father said, pointing to a photo taken at my 15th birthday party. Rebecca was standing behind me as I blew out candles, her hands resting on my shoulders. But her face wasn't looking at the cake, she was staring directly at the camera with a cold, calculating expression that didn't belong on an 8-year-old. We spent 3 days at a hotel on Northeast Glisson Street while police searched for Rebecca. On the 4th day, she found us. I was in the hotel restaurant having breakfast when the waitress approached my table. Excuse me, but there's a woman at the front desk asking for the Walsh family. Says she's your sister? My blood went cold. What does she look like? 30s, brown hair, kind of thin. She seems really upset that you're not answering your room phone. I called Officer Santos immediately while heading to the elevator. She's here. Rebecca's at our hotel. Do not go to your room. Do not approach her. We're en route. But when I reached my parents' floor, I could hear shouting from down the hallway. Rebecca was pounding on their door, screaming, I know you're in there. You can't hide from me anymore. I've been waiting 28 years for you to come home. She looked exactly like the 8-year-old I remembered, just taller. Same wild brown hair, same intense eyes, same way of standing with her fists clenched. Rebecca, I called out, staying near the elevator. She spun around, and her expression immediately changed to something that might have been joy if it hadn't been so unsettling. Jenny! Oh my God, look how grown up you are! You're so beautiful! She started walking toward me, but there was something predatory about her movement. I've missed you so much, she continued. I have so much to tell you about where I've been. So much to catch up on. Rebecca, you're scaring our parents. Our parents, she repeated, like she was tasting the words. I like that. We're finally going to be a real family again. The police are coming. You need to leave. Her expression darkened. The police? You called the police on your own sister? You broke into their house. You've been stalking us. I wasn't stalking. I was finding my way home. Do you have any idea what it's like to be abandoned by the only people who ever cared about you? Rebecca, you were hurting people. You tried to hurt me. I was 8 years old. I was scared and confused and I didn't know how to show love properly. But I've learned, Jenny. I've had 28 years to think about what I did wrong. Police sirens were getting closer, and Rebecca's demeanor shifted again. They're going to try to separate us again, she said urgently. But we can't let them. We're family. Family stays together. She reached into her jacket, and I saw the handle of a knife. Rebecca, don't. I won't let them take me away from you again. I won't go back to being alone. Officer Santos and 3 other officers appeared in the hallway with weapons drawn. Rebecca Walsh, drop the weapon and put your hands up. No! Rebecca screamed. They already stole 28 years from me. I won't let them steal any more. She lunged toward me with the knife, but Officer Santos tackled her before she could reach me. The struggle was brief but violent. Rebecca fought like someone with nothing left to lose. As they handcuffed her, she kept screaming, "Jenny, don't let them take me away again. Please. I promise I'll be good this time. I promise I won't hurt you." Rebecca was charged with stalking, breaking and entering, assault with a deadly weapon, and violation of parole. During her psychological evaluation, doctors confirmed she developed severe attachment disorders and antisocial traits from years of unstable placements and abandonment. She genuinely believes your family belongs to her, the prosecutor explained. In her mind, taking her away from you was theft, and she was just reclaiming stolen property. Rebecca was sentenced to 15 years in prison. But before sentencing, she was allowed to make a statement to the court. "I know everyone thinks I'm crazy," she said, looking directly at me. "But I'm the only one here who remembers what family is supposed to mean. Family doesn't abandon each other when things get hard. Family doesn't run away and change their address and pretend someone never existed." She paused, tears streaming down her face. "I spent 28 years learning how to be the sister Jenny deserved. I got my GED, I learned to cook, I practiced being patient and kind. I was ready to be the family member they always wanted me to be. But they never gave me the chance to show them how much I'd changed." After the sentencing, my parents and I went to family therapy to process everything that had happened. The therapist helped us understand that while my parents' decision to remove Rebecca from our home was probably necessary for everyone's safety, the way they handled it, moving away without explanation and cutting all contact, had traumatized an already damaged child. "Could we have done things differently?" my mother asked during one session. "Possibly," the therapist said. "But you were dealing with a dangerous situation and limited resources. The foster care system failed Rebecca long before she came to your family. I still struggle with guilt about Rebecca. She was right about one thing: family isn't supposed to abandon each other. But she was wrong about everything else. The violence, the stalking, the threats, that's not love, even if it came from a place of deep pain. Do you think families have an obligation to maintain contact with dangerous relatives? Is it possible to love someone while protecting yourself from them? Sometimes the people who claim to love us most are the ones who pose the greatest threat to our safety." Thanks so much for watching. I can't express enough how much your support means. The likes, the comments, it all really helps the channel grow. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. I always take the time to read them. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time.